Okay, so we're coming up to here. It's a decent position. So hey, open lane pattern. You guys see that? We talk about it all the time. I love it when the motorcyclist does it so I can show you. Guess what, guys? It's not car drivers. It's road behavior. We're teaching road behavior in here. It's not car behavior. It's not motorcycle behavior. It's road behavior. And a lot of people have bad behaviors. Some people don't do head checks. He did a head check. So here, take a look. He's on fire now. So we're coming up to here. Our lane is slow. We don't like it. Hey, look at it. It's an open lane over to the right. It's a right turn, but, you know, maybe I'll cut in. But still, look, open lane. I love it. I want to do that. There's the head check. You did a head check. Car drivers tend to not do that. I get it. Let's just pretend motorcycle riders are better than car drivers. Let's just have fun with that. Maybe they are. Maybe they're not. But did a head check. Very good. Switched over. And that's probably why, because he's rolling up to a motorcycle crash. But still, did an open lane to get into that. That's a great open lane pattern. So now it's turning into a rolling up on a motorcycle crash. So you see a motorcycle crash, what do we do? What can we do? So first, remain calm. Sounds like maybe that's why he switched lanes. So he's remaining calm, switching lanes. Perfect. Ensuring his own safety, did a head check. Love it. Love it. So looking for hazards, right? Now, when we get up to here, we want to be able to stop any major bleeds if there are major bleeds. If there's no major bleeds and it's just kind of a capillary bleed where it's just kind of oozing, you know how like you cut your hand a little bit and it's just like all of a sudden you're like, oh, I didn't know I cut my hand. There's like a little bit of blood. That's a capillary bleed. If like for me specifically, when I shave, sometimes I nick a mole or I cut myself a little bit and all of a sudden it's just like dripping. That's a venous bleed. Now, arterial, you have arteries in your hands and your arms. It's not just like the major ones. You have the vena cava, or not that. You have the aorta down the back, bifurcates into your pelvis, goes next to your femurs. That's why it's very dangerous for pelvic injuries, because it can snap and rip that up, and you're dead in a minute. You have a bunch of little capillaries in your skull, in your brain, and everywhere. So the difference between an arterial bleed and a venous bleed is a venous bleed will just kind of ooze. It'll just kind of come down. It'll just like, because I'm shaved my head wrong. And it's just like coming down. It just won't stop until you put pressure on it. It'll slowly stop. Arterial bleeds will pulse with your heartbeat. It'll shoot out a little bit. Or it'll like kind of bubble up quick, depending on how big of the cut is. That is something you want to stop. That is something you want to put direct pressure on. If it's an arm, like if they're doing that here, this is your AC, it's the arterial right here. And when you donate blood, if it's like bleeding out on an artery, do a hasty tourniquet up high and tight. Okay. Same thing with the leg. Something happens, hasty tourniquet high and tight. Let the hospital deal with a lot of that stuff. If it's a big wound in the junctional areas, like up here, you can't put a tourniquet right here. If they're bleeding on the head, don't put a tourniquet around their neck, guys. I know it's a joke. I know you Marines like to do that. Neat crayons. But if it's like here, you can learn how to pack the wound. Take a stop to bleed class. They'll really teach you how to do that. If you want to get the rescue booklet, there's a very brief mention of it. But in the very back of the rescue booklet, there's Prep Medic. There's a QR code. In fact, if you can, go ahead and pause it, screenshot it, or however you want to get. If you're watching this on the TV, screenshot that. Okay? So learn how to pack the wound. That's important. And then quickly assess the severity. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. It's the back of the rescue card. Okay? You get a rescue card if you get this at the store, too. I'll throw it in there. It's on the back. And all this is just explaining what a head injury symptom is, spinal cord shock symptoms, and then pretty much what you can do. And it's just stop any external bleeding, lay them down, monitor any changes, and keep them warm. Okay, so if you have a space blanket or something like that, like a camping blanket, emergency blanket, that's really good if it's cold out. If it's hot out, they're fine. But if they're disoriented, nausea, vomiting, vision impairment, loss of balance, or persistent headache, they probably have a TBI. You don't want to put them, or you don't want to let them ride again. You want to lay them down, because if they get up and they can lose blood pressure or whatever because they have other issues, they fall down, hit their head again. That's a secondary TBI, and you don't want to have one of those. Post-concussion syndrome is very real. It's not good. If you have a concussion again within like 2 weeks after the first concussion, it's very deadly. So you really want to lay them down. Same thing with a spinal cord injury. If they're saying they have tingling and stuff on their legs and their arms, lay them down on their back on the ground. Guess what? The ground is a spine board. It's a splint for your back. If you lay them on the back or on the ground, it's flat. So it's going to act as a splint for their spine. Shock symptoms, that's usually late. That's usually if they're losing a lot of blood, all of a sudden they're not compensating anymore. I'm kind of diving deep here. Not compensating anymore. So then all of a sudden their blood pressure completely drops. They're not getting blood pressure and nutrients to the brain. So they start to go into death spiral. And so the only thing you can really do in that situation is stop bleeds. That's why it's so important to stop major bleeds so that they don't go into shock. There's different kinds of shock. This is hemovolemic shock. There's spinal cord stuff shock. There's neurogenic shock. That's what I mean. Septic shock is when you get an infection that basically destroys your body. There's a bunch of different kinds, but what we're focused on, hypovolemic shock. And so how you can see that is if they get pale, cool, clammy skin, profuse sweating. So the profuse sweating, I'm just diving in. I'm having fun here. It's called diaphoresis. So diaphoresis, imagine, so sweat, you think sweating, right? You see people that are sweating. It's like, oh, they're sweaty. And it's like, oh, that's a lot of sweat, but they're sweaty. Diaphoresis and the profuse sweating, what that is imagine you just stepped out of the shower without a towel and you're just like, water. You just got out of the pool and you're just like, it's like, it looks like like somebody just dumped a bucket on you and you're just dripping. That happens if you see that when somebody's after a crash and they're just like, dude, it looks like you just got out of the pool. Like, that's bad. They're going into shock. And so if they might be bleeding out, stop the bleed. If it's a spinal cord injury or something like that and you can't fix it, we're having a tough time. They might not make it unless EMS shows up on scene real quick and gives them like a lot of fluid. Because if their arterioles and their circulatory system collapses, that means their heart's not going to be able to work well. It means their organ tissue is going to start dying. It means that their brain's going to start dying pretty soon. So once again, I'm going to keep going. So when it comes, think of like your circulatory system as like a water pump, hoses, and water. Okay, the water pump is your heart. The hoses are your arterioles and arteries and veins and capillaries, and then the water itself is the blood. So the pump can be running, if there's no water in the system or not enough water in the system, it's not going to be able to pump any water around. If there's a cut in the hose, it's just going to keep leaking until there's no water because it's going to keep pumping the water out. If the hose is kinked or the hoses are just gone because it got lacerated or whatever, the pump's not going to work. And after a while with a water pump, if you guys know this, like it does need to have some pressure. It needs to be able to pump water because once it doesn't get enough water into that first inlet to go to the outlet, it'll just shut down or it'll burn itself out until it shuts down. So with a crash like this, and that's another thing is if the pump stops or it's damaged, well, it doesn't matter how much fluid you have or if the hoses are intact, it's not pumping anything. So in a crash like this, if you have an injury to the heart, it's just not. It doesn't matter if you have all the blood and nothing is broken. Your brain's not going to get the blood flow. Like everything else is not going to get the blood flow. If you have a laceration to an artery or a bunch of different veins, because the vena cava is a big one too. If you have a big cut, it's going to lose blood inside the interstitial areas of your body. You're going to hold it in, or it's going to go outside if it's an open cut. The pump will slowly just die off and stop. And then at the same time, your tissues aren't going to get anything. So it's very important. That's why I'm bringing this up, is that stopping major bleeds is one of the most preventable trauma fatalities that you can do. If they are bleeding out on a major artery or a major, like you just see blood, stop the major bleed. You want to remain calm and ensure own safety, wear gloves. You don't want to get blood all over you and stuff. But, if it's a family or a friend, it's like, I don't care. But you definitely want to call 911 as soon as possible or tell someone to call 911 because then they are able to get the chain of survival going. You call 911. First, you show up on scene. This is the first part of the chain. Second part is calling. Third part is dispatch. Fourth part is EMS starting to show up. Fifth part is EMS shows up. Sixth part is EMS takes you to the hospital. Seventh part, I mean, there's like 4 parts, but I'm going in depth. The last part is they go into surgery and they fix the real problem. But it never starts unless you start. That's why remain calm, call 911, or tell someone to call 911 is the first thing that you do. If they show up on scene and it's not a big deal, you can always refuse service. You don't have to go to the hospital. You can just end it right there. But if nobody calls, nobody shows up to help to get you to the life-saving surgery. Ensure your own safety. Look for hazards. You don't want to be a part of the accident either. So if you get hit by another car, guess what? You can't help this person. Now somebody has to help you and this person. So always be aware of traffic. Same thing if the bike catches fire or something happens, it's a hazard. You know, if wolves come out, you can run. There's bait right there. So, I mean, like, watch out for hazards. Wear PPE so you don't, after the incident, all of a sudden find out you have hepatitis or some stuff like that. Okay? Protect your eyes, protect your mouth, protect your hands. So wear your helmet. It's going to protect, put the face shield down. It'll protect all that. Keep your other gloves on if you want, but I have nitrile gloves I keep, so I'll put those on. Stop any major bleeds. And this is gee-whiz information for how to kind of handle it. So I just wanted to share all that. Who knows what this incident is all about, but that's all the training. Remember when I talk about training before coming into an incident, before the curve or the intersection, falling back on your training? How would you know what to do? Let's say this is your best friend. It's a corner crash or an intersection. He was in front of you. Your best friend, and you show up and you have no training whatsoever. How are you going to feel? Are you going to panic? Are you going to be scared? Are you going to stand around with like your head cut off, not knowing what to do and watching your buddy die? Or are you going to get training so that when you show up, and this is life, sometimes it happens, you show up, now you know at least what to do. It might not be the best. You might not do perfect, but you're doing something. Get some training. I'm just expressing training for motorcycle riding, training for EMS, being a smart rider, wearing some gear. Look at it. Rescues and teaches. I'm doing this part right now, the teaching and mentoring other motorcyclists. I want you guys to do all these parts at least these 3 parts, the first 3. If you can learn, that'd be great. Take a Stop the Bleed class. Those are usually cheap or free in the United States. That's great. That's where a lot of this comes from. Like the first 2 is mine. Stop Major Bleeds is from Stop the Bleed. Highly recommend it. An accident scene management course. I am, but I'm not an accident scene management instructor. I was. Got some great information there. But a TECC class, Tactical Emergency Casualty Care class, and then 11 years being a firefighter EMT. So I have training. I can handle this because of all that. But get a little bit. And here's the thing. If you take, I'm just keep going. You take a Stop the Bleed class. It doesn't have to be a motorcycle accident. You're at home. Your wife, she's cooking. She lacerates her hand. She drops a glass and it hits the ground, and now she has an arterial bleed somewhere because it just magically, the glass hit the perfect spot. Your kid falls down the stairs and he lacerates his arm or something. You can solve a problem at home. You can roll up on a car accident, you can solve the problem. Somebody at a football game or whatever, you're just walking around, you just somehow come up on something where there's bleeding or there's an issue, you can help. Instead of being around, standing around, which we see all the time. I'm getting a little amped. Seeing all the time, people just kind of standing around doing nothing. Now imagine if everybody, there's 100 people and 50 people took all this training. Imagine the society they would, oh geez, now I'm getting a little crazy. Imagine the society they would have if everyone could just help everyone. Yeah, I got amped. Let's see what happens. Okay, so he's walking wounded. Sometimes it's not an issue. You see how people just have, look. Hands in the pockets. Don't be the person with your hands in the pockets. I get it. I'm not making fun of him. This is normal. It's okay. But I want to see everybody having that training, everybody being at, what can I do to help? Not even asking that because they already know what to do. Now they blur them? In Europe, you must take a first aid course for driving license so everyone likely can help. That's great, Horvath. That's what I think should happen. Okay, we're at 40 minutes now on this video, but that's what I think that should happen. That's why in the Smart Rider crew, the online motorcycle club that I'm trying to create, and for years I've been talking about the Smart Rider principles. These are the things that I teach. These are the things I believe in when it comes to motorcycle riding. But the Smart Rider crew, that what I'm trying to get is that we all live to this. We all have this training. I'm doing my best to create the courses for this, or at least give you the resources to do this yourself. Now imagine if let's say every motorcycle rider joins the Smart Rider crew for some reason. That'd be cool. But if they all did, then that means they're all doing this and being able to rescue. So now let's say every motorcycle rider knows how to rescue somebody. So if there's a big group ride, it's not just like the tail gunner that has the stuff that can help out. It's literally everybody in the group ride. You have too much help. You have too many people to help out that one person that crashed. Now imagine in the group ride, one person crashed and then it causes issues where there's like 6 people that crash. Now imagine if there's just that one person to help 6 people. If you have everybody to help 6 people, or even the 6 people that did crash and they do have like at least some awareness, they can self-rescue. Because this stuff isn't just for you to help someone else. Imagine if you crash and you see a laceration on your leg and you have your fanny pack with your tourniquets and everything, you flip that around, you get a tourniquet out and you do a hasty tourniquet on your leg yourself. You saved yourself. Versus just looking at it and be like, oh crap, I'm dead now. Today is a interesting day. All right, let's take a look at something that's a little easier. I don't know, I'm just passionate about like just to help serve your community, serve yourself, be self-reliant. Okay, switched over, apply the brakes, not a big deal. Take care of things. Be useful.